Welcome to the I Create Daily podcast. I'm Leora Alderson.
And I'm Devani Alderson. We're your co-hosts on this journey of creativity and productivity.
I Create Daily is for artists in every genre of creating, from musicians to writers, crafters to inventors, bloggers to entrepreneurs. I Create Daily is a movement for creators serious about your art.
If you're into creating anything, this podcast is definitely for you. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Hello and welcome to another episode of the I Create Daily podcast, a movement for creators serious about their art. I'm Devani.
And I'm Leora.
And you're doing the bio.
Yeah, and I'm doing the bio. And today we are doing a mastermind call with a friend of ours, Sam Pullman, age 26. Is happy to be working in Perth, Australia for his family's business, the Better For Your brand, which manufactures and sells stainless steel drinkware in America for the past couple years. Sam does most of the marketing and brand building for their company and also does part-time freelance work helping businesses with their digital and local marketing in his area. So welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. That was a really cool introduction.
Also, he runs and manages a Facebook page called the United States of Coffee on the side.
Yeah.
So that, well, obviously we're going to be talking about topics that we all love.
Yeah,
marketing,
right.
coffee, and business building.
That's right. And so Devani and Sam have done, periodic mastermind calls, helping each other out with various things over the past couple of years. And so this time we just thought it would be great to record this and share it with our audience in case the conversation that we're having helps anyone else. So speaking of that, Sam, tell us a little bit about what you're doing in your business, like your role and what your goals are with the business and how that's going.
Sure thing. Once again, thanks for having me. Really looking forward to having a chat. My role is, I think it's probably the same as a lot of small businesses. It's a little bit of a jack of all trades role. So one day you might be responding to customer reviews. Ideally, they're happy reviews. Sometimes you get negative ones. So there's a skill set that we've learnt there. And another day you might be putting together a marketing campaign or speaking to our employee in China or everything in between. So it really is a bit of a jack of all trades role, but primarily when I can, I focus on the marketing side, which is still definitely a work in progress, and I'm sure something we'll cover in the call today in terms of finding our niche and finding our audience and getting a bit of brand direction. Which I think is something that a lot of businesses seem to go through. It can be a little bit of a struggle or a little bit of a challenge to find which direction to head with your business. So that's been a real one for us. So it's a role that I can be doing anything on any given day, but I really enjoy that side of it because it provides a lot of variation and there's never a dull moment really, which is great.
Yeah, totally. We can totally relate to that. Yeah. So you mentioned building the brand and building the tribe, which is what we're going to focus on in this call. And so you said that recently that your parents, Jason and Rose, came to America and attended a conference event. And as a part of that, they ended up kind of discovering your tribe. Like after a couple years of looking for, what's our niche, what kind of people really like our product, kind of thing. Then they've discovered that. So could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was it was a real revelation, I guess. So it was. So probably time flies. It was probably a couple of months ago that they were in America. It was part of a what's called the RV Entrepreneur Summit. So it's a summit for people who travel around in their RV, and most of them work from their RV. A lot of them are just getting started, but then again, a lot have been doing it for a while, and they do a whole range of things from their RV. So they might do freelance work, or they might sell on Amazon, or everything in between. So they might probably go back a little bit. My parents' goal, I guess, or their vision is to have location independent income. So move to America for a little while and buy or rent an RV and travel around and see the sights and at the same time work. So that's sort of where Better For You was born as an idea. So yeah, this RV Summit sort of presented itself, and my parents had been following Heath and Alyssa, who run the RV Summit for a while, and basically saw an opportunity to come to America as a little bit of a business and leisure trip that ended up being a whole lot of business, but that was okay. But yeah, the RV Summit itself was fantastic. So they didn't really know what to expect going into it, other than sort of word on the street about what the event the year before had been like. So yeah, when they attended, they were just absolutely blown away, and just had a real feeling, as Mum says, that, as Rose says, that they've sort of found their tribe and found their people, which for us as a business was really important, because we sell on Amazon primarily, and it's a platform where you do all the brand building, and you try to get yourself to a point where you can convey the type of brand you are, and then you sell your product, you list it, and people buy it. But there isn't a whole lot of interaction face to face with the customer for obvious reasons. It's all online. So for them to meet people who were sort of in the niche that they were firstly doing the thing that they wanted to do, and secondly were able to use the products that we sell. We actually we sort of sponsored the event in a way, and provided everybody with a free stainless steel mug with a little custom laser engraved on the side that said RV Summit 2018, I think, from memory. So that was a really cool way for us to just sort of, for them to meet and connect with people that are doing a similar thing to them, that will genuinely get great use out of our product. And sort of, yeah, that really helped us and our brand to figure out, like, hey, like we want to connect with and provide real value through our product to people who are in the outdoors niche. So that could be anything from camping to RVing to hitchhiking. Anyone who might need a stainless steel mug or cup. So yeah, that's probably the longer version.
Yeah, no, that's great. And what I really love about that is, it's such a poignant lesson, because they found their tribe of people who are interested in doing what they're interested in doing.
Yeah.
It's like, but of course, it just makes sense. It's like, don't worry so much about looking hard for your tribe. Worry about focusing on what you love and doing that, following your passion, and looking for those who are doing the same thing, and attend events around those things that you love. Yeah. And then you'll find them.
That's been excuse me, sorry. That's been kind of a couple-year journey for you guys as well. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, because they start building a product, they start a company, they start a creative endeavor, whatever it is. And in your mind, you probably have some semblance of an idea of, this is the kind of person who will buy it. And sometimes it's, well, anybody can use a mug. So obviously our customer is absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
And then you guys narrowed it down, because a lot of your brand is about eco-friendly product. And so can you sort of go into a little bit about how you guys, how your tribe and audience evolved over the couple years? Because when you started, it was definitely a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely it was. We didn't have a whole lot of idea about branding and marketing, to be completely honest. I'd done a bit of work, but not directly in the e-commerce space. So one thing we did know from the very get-go, once again going back a little bit, selling on Amazon is a lifestyle that is sold to people as one that's it has a little bit of a get-rich-quick tag associated with it. And I think that's the way it's sold, as a method to escape the 9-to-5 or escape your dead-end job, which is all well and good. But the reality is that if you want to do it right and you want it to be an actual brand and an actual company, then you've got to treat it just like any other business, just like a butcher or a baker that has a bricks and mortar store. So that was our approach, driven by my dad, Jason, from the start. It's like, if we're going to do this, we'll do it right, and we'll go the long way, which is the right way. So that was something that we did have, I guess, set in stone from the beginning, which is something that I'm very grateful for. And I think Rose as well, is that was sort of Jason's commitment. But in terms of our brand and trying to find our audience, it was really like, we want to sell in this particular niche, which at the time talking about evolution of us as a brand, we wanted to focus on alternatives to plastic. So plastic food storage and drinkware. So I guess our goal was to sell containers, like stainless steel containers and food storage products and drinkware and a whole range of things. And it sort of got to a point where getting one product launched onto Amazon was a massive deal. And in our head, we had 15 products that we wanted to launch, and we had this grand scheme, this grand idea. But the sheer effort, I think, in doing it right for one product made us realize that we probably have to dial in a little bit more. So plastic free is one of our big mantras. So everything that we sell is 100% plastic free, and it's kind of easy being stainless steel, but we won't ever sell a product that contains plastic. It's just one of our driving values, I suppose. So in terms of actually finding our audience, we had some inkling through our sales and through our metrics and the data that we had access to, that people that were camping were buying them. So that gave us a bit of an inkling. But at the same time, like you said, everyone drinks coffee. So we had people buying for all sorts of reasons. So yeah, I think the temptation is to just say, oh, well, I sell a product that everyone will use. And I'm sure lots of people can relate. Like you said, you could justify and argue that almost anyone could use almost any product, but there's real value in digging down and finding that niche. And that's really, after over 2 years, it's something that we've only just done. And I think it came off the back of just going out there and meeting people face to face and getting an idea. If we had have gone to this summit and not connected on that level, then that would have probably told us that we weren't quite hitting the mark. We would have readjusted once again, but we were lucky enough, I guess, in this instance to go there and meet our tribe. So that's really where our focus has shifted. So it's been a real journey, yeah.
So tell us about the United States of Coffee Facebook.
Sure. Yeah, so it's my neglected child, which it has been for a long time, which I'm sad to say. But it was basically built as a fan page for coffee lovers in America, and gave it a good crack for 3 or 4 months and was really enjoying it. But life sort of got in the way and focus shifted to Better For You and my other work. It was really an exercise in building a community of people who are passionate about one thing, and that was coffee. So doesn't necessarily have anything to do with camping or the outdoors space, but that's another aspect of our brand that, like, a lot of coffee lovers buy our product. So it is potentially another niche we can really dial in on. But it was basically just an exercise to see if we could build a community of people who are passionate about one thing, and we did so in 3 or 4 months. Got to 3,000 likes. There was a little bit of a paid strategy, but it was mostly just posting regularly, interacting, which are things that have fallen away recently. But yeah, we discuss it every now and then as a team, and we're pretty keen to pick it up because it was good fun. It was just really cool connecting with people who are passionate about one thing. And I mean, I love coffee. Jason and Rose drink a crazy amount of tea. So between us, we're real passionate about drinkware and beverages. So that's sort of where we align closely with our brand. And obviously the outdoors, like, I think we're a family that, if we could, we'd spend a whole lot more time outdoors. And that's the plan for Jason and Rose to move to America and do so.
Okay, so your strategy is partly to use the Better For Your coffee. I'm sorry, the United States of Coffee as a site to connect with people who love the things that you guys love, and have a little bit of fun, but also then sort of cross-link it to your brand, right? The Better For Your brand. You also have a Better For Your Facebook page as well.
Yeah. Yes, we do. So that's in terms of a strategy, that's something that has worked for people in the past. So creating a community page that's not directly linked to your brand, but you can then connect with your brand and use to ideally provide value, like genuine value, and be authentic about sort of like, this is what we do as a business and this is what we love, and let's like mesh the two. And it can be hard, I think, to do both of those things on the one platform.
Yeah.
I think it's something Gardens All actually do really well. So props to you guys. I think you guys combine those things really well on the one page, and you've got a massive audience, which is super cool. And I definitely followed a few things that you guys did, but your consistency is fantastic. So that's a big part of it. It's just being authentic. And we haven't ever tried to sell anything on United States of Coffee at this stage, but it's potentially a road that we'll go down as long as we're feeling like we're not being too pushy or salesy, which I think is also something you guys can relate to in terms of making sure that you find that balance between providing value and also monetizing what you do, because you have to be able to buy bread and milk at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's a good point about having the separate pages as well, because I think a lot of us, we struggle with, I want to create a personal brand, which is a lot easier in terms of allowing you to just have a multi-passionate brand, because people are interested in so many things. But then at the same time, sometimes it's more advantageous to have a name brand, a business brand, and yet all the advice is like niche down, have a focus, have a laser focus, really build and hone in on that. And yet having these shoot off pages allows you to dive into other subcultures on the internet. So while Better For You isn't just a mug for coffee drinkers, it's a mug for anybody who wants to drink something and is also adventurous and is eco-friendly. You can also still have pages that feed into that one brand through, your United States of Coffee page or any other page or Instagram account or Twitter or whatever that also hones in on its own audience.
Better for you. Not Better For You.
Oops,
that's okay.
We actually should touch on the name really quickly, because it's been a bit of a point of contention with even amongst us as a family and as a business. But the idea initially, going back to our first brand vision, was that we would have better for your something. So it would be better for your kitchen, or better for your kids, or better for your pets. So it would allow us to, like you said, to branch off, and in that instance, if we had pursued that, we would have had probably a whole lot of fan pages or community pages. But yeah, once again, it's just something that I think the reality of the business we're in got in the way, and so we're stuck with this name. We've got a weird love for it, but yeah, it's a little bit confusing. So, I think at some stage we might make it Better For Your beverage and focus on drinkware. And if we do decide to branch off somewhere else, we'll add it and make it a little less confusing. But yeah, no judgment if you get the name wrong.
Well, no, I mean, but that's a good point though, because you didn't let not having the perfect name stop you.
Yeah.
So that's the important thing, I think. It's like, okay, so a name can be changed, and is it a hassle? Absolutely. Is it worth it? Maybe, maybe not. You'll have to decide that at some point. I'm sure Better For You was taken. And so then, you guys came up with the next best thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of trademarking it, there's also that tricky thing. I originally created a fitness line called My Gym Trainer, and it was supposed to go into, my swim trainer, my tennis trainer, but you can't trademark My Blank Trainer. You have to come. And so then we changed that to My Trainer Fitness 4. It's like My Trainer Fitness 4, and then it's like for home, for gym, etc. So we totally get, that challenge. And I think it's great that you guys are persevering, and it's like a sticking point, but at the same time, it gives you a chance to talk about it in a way that helps people remember it, and the bottom line is, you got a cute mascot, the squirrel, and.
Can you talk about that? We're looking at it right now. And can you go into the whole squirrel story?
Yeah, I'd love to. I would love to. I really hope that my dad listens to this. Actually, I'll make sure he does. So my dad, Jason, who's the one who got all this craziness started, he's been to America about 10 times, I think, through work and business and leisure and everything in between, and absolutely loves the country. Particularly loves like the scenic side, the national parks, and getting out there and getting his hands dirty. So he also loves squirrels, and I don't think he realised he loves squirrels until he got to America and saw them face to face and was like, how cool are these little guys? He's taken way too many photos to count of squirrels, and mum and him will be walking along through a national park, and she'll look left, and Jason will be there, and she'll look right, and she'll look left again, and he'll be off, like basically climbing a tree trying to get a photo of a squirrel. So I'm not exactly sure what he loves about them. I think he loves their resourcefulness and their cheekiness, and I don't really know, to be honest. But it was one of those things where it was like, let's make a decision. And it's something that's, we could have gone with a tree. If we could have gone with like something that was quite generic and something that would have been obvious, but I think a green squirrel, like you said, is quite memorable. So there've been a few moments where Rose and I have sat there like doing this, basically like stroking our chin, wondering what the heck is going on and what he's coming up with. But we've sort of grown to love it as well. So it is quite memorable, and that with the weird name, it's sort of something that sticks in people's heads. So yeah, it's interesting that to touch on the name. It's sort of like a band name, I think. Like, I don't know if anyone would have thought Red Hot Chili Peppers would have become an absolute sensation being called Red Hot Chili Peppers, but the name is only so much of who you are and what you do, and the important part is what goes on behind it. And we could have called ourselves almost anything, and as long as we have those same values and provide excellent customer service and a real focus on a high quality product, which we do, I think it's a thing that people can definitely get hung up on. It's something that we have as well, but we're 2-3 years down the track now, and we're doing okay, and we're growing and not letting it sort of get in the way. So if that can be a lesson to people, it's go ahead.
Yeah, it's almost like the imperfection of the name itself creates a great conversation point, because it's almost like somebody says better for your, and they're like, I want to complete the sentence that I'm saying, but why is it cut off? It's better for your, better for what? And then the squirrel, it's like, what? And it almost provides like a puzzle for people to ask about. And I think that's really important in a brand as well, having something that it sticks in your mind, not because it's the perfect name, but it sticks in your mind because there's a really cool story behind it. And then you find out, not only is there a cool story behind it, there's cool people behind it, there's relatable people behind it. And then, they're like me too, because I like camping and I like the environment and I like coffee and drinks, and I like being conscious about what products I use. So I think that's a really cool element.
Yeah, and just to mention for the US audience, you guys don't have squirrels in Australia, right?
No, I haven't seen one. I mean, I'm going to look into that. I don't actually know. I better not tell Jason if we do, though. We'd never see him again. Let's just say no, we don't.
Yeah, well, we have them all around us. As you know, we sent you some photos. In fact, some video photos as well of squirrels eating something, or from the Better For Your mugs. And I don't know, maybe it could just become Better For Your whatever. Like add whatever to the name, and then we've got it solved.
Right? Absolutely. Better for your whatever.
Better for your.
Maybe we'll trademark that.
That would be really funny, actually. Yeah. And then there's a squirrel, and so I have to ask, because in America we do have an obsessive amount of squirrels, and they're very obsessive about what they attack in our gardens. We have a Gardens All company, and so people get a little bit, either you love the squirrel or you really hate the squirrel. Have you gotten any comments about that part? Because you guys might not have the context of adorable little tree rats that we do.
No, we haven't really encountered that, but we definitely know that it's a thing. That was probably our biggest hang up on the name. Rose and myself was like, we're pretty sure that these are like borderline pests in America, so we really want to have it representing our brand. But yeah, I guess it's the luxury of not having them and just seeing the cute, funny side. So we don't really connect as much with gardeners like you guys would, or people who are passionate about gardening. So I'm sure if we did, we'd probably change the name and the logo.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gardeners, but we still love our squirrels, even though they have a habit of taking a bite from each of the perfectly ripe tomatoes just before being harvested. And then they throw it down, and they take a bite of the next one and they throw it down. But other than that, they're very entertaining and very endearing. So definitely.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a cartoon where you've always got to have your antagonists, I suppose. Otherwise, it wouldn't be much fun.
Absolutely.
That's a positive way to look at it.
So what progress are you guys making when you talked about finding your tribe? Now, so what are you guys doing as a result of that? What are you working on
good question.
as a result of that?
So in terms of things like our, I guess, obvious front of house things like our website and our social media, particularly Instagram, the shift has definitely gone towards, I guess, relating with our newly discovered tribe. So content that is outdoors, exploratory, adventurous, I guess induces a sense of like wonderment or wanderlust, which is a word that gets thrown out a fair bit. Because I guess, and another thing that's come from it is our slogan, I suppose, which is drink where life takes you. So it's a little bit of a pun, like drink where and drink where life takes you. So it's what we want is for people to ideally to have our mug, but if not, great. But just wherever you go, it's thirsty work when you're on an adventure or when you're exploring. So that's the I guess from a brand point of view, that's what we want to capture. It's like drink where life takes you. So go and explore the world. Bring along a mug that won't break, that'll be your trusted companion the entire way. If it does break, we've got a lifetime warranty, so we're willing to back it up. But ideally it won't. And when you get to your destination or on your journey, have a drink and sit back and enjoy the fact that you're out there actually exploring the world. So that's sort of, yeah, I'm not sure what that sounds like at your end, but for us it was a real revelation and a real, it gave us a lot of direction. So it's where we're going to head. And obviously we still cater to people who just want to buy the mug and have it in their office or at their home. But yeah, I guess our real focus is people who are out there exploring the world.
In that clarity of brand direction, have you guys found a bigger response from people in terms of them going, now I get it. I get what this is about. I connect with that. I know you're kind of new into launching that. I was on your Instagram and you have a lot of fun on there in terms of sharing images, sharing mug images, and also sharing puns. But have you, excuse me, in fully launching that, are you getting more response?
It's an interesting thing. I don't know if it's more response. I think it's just more our clarity of communication means that the response that we get is from people who we're aiming to speak to. So we've gone from trying to speak to everybody essentially because we weren't quite sure who to focus on. And therefore having quite a broad, probably an unrelatable message to like, this is a tribe of people who we want to connect with, who want to provide value to, that are similar to us. So let's speak to them. And therefore the response has been, it's been more magnified, I would say. It hasn't necessarily been bigger, but it's been more focused, which is, I think, a real lesson for us.
So, I love the slogan. And are you guys talking about putting that on some of your mugs? Yeah,
it's, what have we done with it? We've put it on with every mug you receive, you get a little insert, which has care instructions, a little bit of a story about us, and a bit more info. So we've included it there. So that's, I guess, the first step we've taken to introducing it to our branding on our physical product. It would be a really cool thing on the side of a mug. That's a great idea. We hadn't thought of it. But yeah, so that's potentially something we could do, but we've incorporated into our website as well and our Instagram. So it was just one of those things that sort of popped into our heads that we're really keen to adopt. And I think because we have a green squirrel and we have better for you, that tells you nothing. I think drink where life takes you gives you a bit of a better idea. So that's probably why it's exciting as well, because we're finally we can convey our message a bit there.
It would make a really good, and I don't know how, I'm sure there's eco-friendly companies that do stickers that don't have plastic and whatnot, or materials you don't like, but it would be a great car decal, because a lot of people like in the adventure stuff like the various decals that tell the world what they're about. And so that would be, I could see it like on a Jeep driving down the road, drink where life takes you. It'd be a really cool visual.
And by the way, we are not drinking from our better for your mugs because two reasons. One time is that we tend to use the microwave to reheat, especially when it's cool.
Fair enough.
But the other, there you go. Good. You've got it going. The other is because we actually we sent gift boxes to battalion troops stationed in Afghanistan. And we sacrificed and gave our better for your mugs to them. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So and we sent your dad some photos of the guys drinking from the mug out. Yeah. So
and we also have some of them at our cabin, our rental cabin. So some of our guests use those as well
in that lifestyle,
which is the perfect setting because it's a rental cabin. It's a very rustic, woodsy style place. So
but what sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I don't begrudge you for not using them at all. We unfortunately, for people listening, you guys became a bit of a long-term storage facility for us for a while. So we don't begrudge you throwing them all out. No, giving away is awesome. We're absolutely stoked. And that photo that's come to my head now. Mum mentioned it of the guy using it in Afghanistan, which is unreal. So talk about drink where life takes you.
Yeah, in fact, we have a box going out with our last two to them today. So yeah, that's and they just loved it. It was just like perfect for them there. But back to, some part of what I love, I mean, there's so much about your story that's great for our audience. And that has to do with, you don't just start. Don't try to have it all figured out because it's impossible. It'd be like saying that we're going to drive from here near the East Coast to California, and we know every rest stop we're going to take along the way, and every meal place we're going to stop, and every place we're going to stop for the night. And you just can't, because things change in the journey, and it is in the journey that the way becomes more clear. And so, so that's what's happening with you guys. And I really think that quote, drink wherever life takes you, should definitely be on your mug, should be on t-shirts. I mean, it's so very captivating. And, you might even have people who are into drinking beer and wine, taking it, as well, as part of their logo. Culture, but you couldn't have imagined that possibly 4 years ago when this idea began to unfold, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, big time.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna basically agree. Yeah, you go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just saying, while she was talking, and we're talking about like brand building essentially. Well, and Sam, we mentioned briefly, you also do freelance brand work and marketing work with local companies in your area. And so you could always have your company. I know you have a name for your company and everything, but better for your brand. And then you have the conglomerate, you have the theme, you have a marketing company which is led by you, you have the company that's the mugs and all that, and it's one of those things where you guys, we love family business. Obviously we are a family business as well, and just the ways that you guys are building a product-based company, you have your freelance marketing stuff, you have all that going for you. You have the coffee page. And it's just something really important about that is even if you don't always love the day-to-day work, even if you don't always love the hat you wear on any given day, you're building so many skills for yourself. Your family is building so many skills for your family sustainability, for your community. And I think that's really important because that builds a lot of confidence. And no matter what you guys do moving forward, you have skill sets that you're always going to be able to take into any situation.
Yeah, fantastic idea. Build better for your business. Also, that could be better for your brand or better.
And that has the B to it, so that flows really well. Better for your business. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. Though it's something that I think you have to stop and take stock for a second and think about all those skills that you've learned along the way. And if we were to really knuckle down into any of those avenues or those skill sets that we've learned, we could almost without question turn that into a side business. So whether it's specializing in Amazon PPC, pay-per-click, or just literally just getting onto Amazon. How do we get onto Amazon and get set up the right way? Could be photography. It could be a whole host of things. So, and that's really pertinent for mum and dad. Jason and Rose, who are about to, or at some stage will embark on their journey into America, because while Better For You will ideally provide most of the income, I think diversifying and having multiple streams is a good idea. So it's one of those things that you've kind of, like you said, you've just got to start. And if you knew every step along the way, it wouldn't be an adventure, and it's been an absolute adventure for us. So there have been days where we're not sure if we're in a dream or a nightmare, because there's so much that goes into it. And funnily enough, if we were to start right now, we wouldn't go into the stainless steel drinkware business, because competition has increased, and I guess the market's changed. So you've got to be really aware of the market when you're gonna push into something like this. But once you decide on it, you've just got to go for it, like you said.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about, let's see, what was I going to say? We just heard a siren, and sometimes our dogs start howling when there's a siren. So it's like I lost track of what I was going to say. But okay, I remember. So you talked about okay. So I think that your family. See if this is accurate. It's like your family tend to be like nature lovers, outdoorsy people, not necessarily like extroverted in terms of being the type to normally like seek being around a lot of people. And perhaps in the beginning, just like the people who sell Amazon courses tend to promote, it was the concept, and it actually was more so easy. It was easier in the earlier years.
Yeah.
It's like a lot more competitive since you guys have been in it, since we've been in it. But initially it was the concept of, we create this brand, this thing that we like to do, that we value, and then we sell it, and then we can live our life doing RVing and what have you, being in the outdoors and not having to deal with a retail store and people and that sort of thing. So is that kind of accurate how the initial vision was started?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was going back probably 28 years, when my parents had my older brother. They started pretty young, and they're about to turn 50, so they've still got a whole lot of life ahead of them. So I think it was a risk, but it was a decision that do we work 9 to 5 until we're 65 and then go and explore the world when we retire, or 60 or whatever the number is, and then we're a bit slower, joints are a bit more creaky, and there's more health issues or health things to consider, or do we bite the bullet and take a risk and do it now and try to explore the world for the next 20 years while we're still young and fit and healthy. So it was definitely a conscious decision, and that was, I guess, the basis of it. Like, how can we do it and explore the world and also have enough income that supports what we're doing?
So you didn't start out in a way, building it from the tribe first, because that wasn't your passion. And where I think that connects with our audience is that a lot of creators. So we have in our audience entrepreneurs like yourself. We have artists, writers, composers, photographers, and many of these creatives are introverts. It's like, I just want to be out doing my photography in the woods. I just want to be working in my business. I don't want to be on the social scene chatting, because I want to get on with my art, right?
And in terms of reaching down, while we just rattled off a list of people we connect to, like every kind of creator, our focus is creators who are at that sort of precipice between, do I do the job route? Hey, Caspi, he wants to say clearly. Hey, Paul. Anyway, so our niche is creators on that edge of, do I do this as a real thing or just a hobby, or do I stop my job and pursue this? And sort of people bridging that gap between, do I take this seriously and make it my lifestyle thing?
Yeah.
And I think that, like you guys were saying, it's not always, the initiating idea isn't always, I want to build a big brand that connects with this specific tribe of people. But for most of us, we get into the excitement of it, which generates more ideas. And then we're like, whoa, this could be so big. This could be, you branch into so many different directions.
Yeah. And so like part of the rest of the thought I was going to ask you to elaborate on too, is that, so once again, their initial goal didn't incorporate, essentially looking for a tribe or finding a tribe. But the subsequent results of needing to do that in order to grow a brand and build a business has actually helped them find a place where they do resonate and where they enjoy connecting more with people who are doing more of the kind of things that they're doing, no matter whether it's exactly the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my apologies. I missed that part of the question, and it's a really good point because my parents and even myself to an extent we're not the people who want to be the center of attention. We'd much rather our product do that in this instance, or someone else do it, or we just go off and do our thing. So while we're social people and we love connection and all those things that most humans love, our idea isn't to go out and build a personal brand or to be the next Oprah Winfrey or Gary Vaynerchuk. So yeah, it's and I think, like you said, a lot of artists can really resonate with that, and it's got to be a conscious thought to a degree. Like while it's all well and good to just start and see where it goes, you've also got to ask yourself the question, like, do I want my passion and my hobby to become essentially my life? Because I think you get over a precipice where it does if you put enough time and effort into it. So I guess keeping tabs on that and the effect that it's having on you and whether it's a positive or negative thing is a really good exercise to go through. So for us, we're 100% all in on selling stainless steel drinkware, and there's no turning back. So we're lucky enough to recently have found that tribe. And I think the funny and quirky thing about that tribe is that you get 200 people in 150 or 200 RVs that meet at one spot. But at any one time, you can leave from that spot and go off and do your thing. Yes. So I guess you're not always in each other's pockets. So it's a really cool mix of those two. Yeah, but no, it's an interesting point and definitely something that I would encourage people to consider, because you can do it if you're willing to go all in on it. But at the same time, you've got to make sure that you still enjoy it along the way. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of point, really.
Yeah, and there are a number. It's interesting because I tended to think of RVing as something retired people do, but there are a number of lifestyle entrepreneurs who are getting into, traveling around the country in an RV while they're conducting their online business.
Well, Amanda Mabry, one of our mastermind members for the 90-day journal, she and her husband are preparing. They have an Etsy shop. She's an author. She's an influencer, and they do the Etsy shop and crafting together. And one of their goals is to be on the road in an RV, because once their kids are out of the house, that's one of their goals.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely become sort of the new adventure craze type thing, like the trend, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can kind of see why, because these businesses can quickly turn into you just being locked in your house, working on what you do all day, every day as well. And once again, it's like, what's the point of that? At least with a 9 to 5, you go to an office and you get out of your house and you work in an environment with new people or people that you ideally grow to enjoy working with. But if it can be really lonely as well if you're going down the solo entrepreneur route. So I mean, we work from home a lot of the time, and because of the nature of our business, we're sort of lucky to interact with new people on a weekly basis. So that's why we really enjoy connecting with our customers and responding to reviews and answering questions. And I think it's also why Jason Roy's going to the summit was such a big deal, because it was finally like we're out of the house, we're providing our product to people and we're getting to see them interact with it. So there's also that lifestyle balance as well. It's like you've also got to get out and see the world. You can't just be stuck in a room doing the same thing all day, because you'll eventually go mad, I think.
Yeah, I know.
You guys are lucky to live there. You've got that beautiful space to roll around in, which is cool.
Yeah, and the other wonderful thing about them going to the conference before they're actually RVing is that it firmly sets that intention. Again, it puts it out there on the universe, and it's like, okay, we're serious about this. This is definitely going to, and again, they found people who, were the people they've been looking for. And so I think that's part of the kind of like the concluding thought I was having relative to growing the tribe in spite of themselves, growing the tribe in spite of the initial thought of not connecting. It was just like, let's build a business that's going to sustain us, doing something we value, that represents our values, that helps other people while we live our life. And yet the process for creators and entrepreneurs to actually connect with others who are doing those kinds of creative things, living the kind of things that are a part of your values, is always more enriching. So it's like whether it's the writer speaking with the readers who are enjoying his work or her work, or the artist who is hearing and seeing what her work means to people and connecting with them on that level. You mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, and this is like the big thing about so many of us small entrepreneurs. And when I say small, I mean like starting small, not as in small vision. It can be overwhelming to think like, how can we get a foothold in this crowded world of people who are so far ahead of where we are and where we, they're taking all the traffic. Like, how can we, get a foothold there? But how it is that we can. So this is very important for all the listeners, is by connecting and growing a tribe, because people want to connect with people. So while, our small group of creators, it's like, it's so small compared to something like Creative Live, which is a fantastic organization. But because it's small, we all get to have more intimate conversations with each other and direct, so it's like we kind of can't quite have that when you go to the larger platforms, but you can, and people want to connect now more than ever because there's so much isolation because of the online world.
Absolutely. And a lot of credence is given to big numbers of followers, big numbers of likes or interactions. And I think that can be a little bit disheartening for someone just starting out. But going back to Gary Vaynerchuk, I think his attitude is, if you make a thing and you put it out to the world and you get 3 people that follow you, that's 3 people that have chosen, assuming that they're not bots, of course. That's three people that have chosen to follow you and that are interested enough to give you their follow or to be part of your audience. So it's 3 people you didn't have, and eventually you have 6, and you have 9 and 12, and you have 20 and 50 and 100, and that's 100 people who are following what you're doing. So it's not insignificant. And I think if you look at the big numbers that these massive brands are getting, it can be disheartening, but at the same time, you've just got to give value to the people who choose to follow you and treat them as if they are gold, essentially, and give them the time and effort and love that they deserve. So it's easier said than done, because maintaining social media accounts and presences can be difficult, because you've also got to do the work. But yeah, it's also, I think it's a lesson as well, that if people choose to follow you, then that's a really positive thing. And if you chip away like you guys do with your social media, which is amazing and something everyone can learn off, I think you can get to the point that you guys are at, or get to the point that Gary Vaynerchuk's at.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a great point. So we have a couple ideas for you that might help in your growing your new direction in your new tribe. But before we share that, are there any particular areas that you're looking that you could use some help with or have questions about?
Yeah, sure. I think it would be, one of them is outsourcing our daily tasks that probably take up too much time, or more time than they should. Yeah. And the other one would be we've barely touched on or barely utilized email marketing or I guess email in general. So it's something I'm in the process of setting up, but 2 things that I think can add a lot of value if you get to the point where you need to outsource. And also in terms of email, it's a bit of a no-brainer, and one that us as a business haven't really tapped into, but I think it could take our business to the next level. So they're probably 2 things that come to mind.
Yeah. So the last part I wasn't hearing quite clearly, but so you're talking about outsourcing the email.
Sorry. One is outsourcing like daily tasks that are taking up probably more time than they should. And the other one is just email marketing in general. It's not something that we've done a whole lot of. Yeah.
So to that, and to the point we were just talking about, one of the things I think that, again, may or may not be the thing to outsource, at least not the writing of the emails, because that is your touch point with your audience. Mm-hmm. And so rather than thinking of it as email marketing, thinking about it as connecting with your audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where it is that really you have a chance to let them hear your personal voice. Mm-hmm. And that's what people would like to hear more of, rather than any kind of fancy email. It can even just be, a regular email template and not, an autoresponder or anything else. You can write them in advance, but you're still speaking to the people you want to connect with from yourself, from your own voice. I mean, I think that's one of the things, like in the beginning, you're you guys, your brand was your brand and you didn't have a face to it, but really the brands that have a personal face to it, in particular, when your parents are living their lifestyle vision, which is what their tribe wants to do, then that's when they're going to need to be the face of the brand and traveling around and showing people what they're doing. And I think that that's where you guys will really connect.
Yeah. I was just thinking you could have something like, okay, so, it would be really cool. So their RVing, we touched on sort of their RVing and whatnot and their adventures. What are there things you do on the weekends? Like, are there sports or adventurous things that you do? Because you didn't go with them on their RV trip. So what, and all of this is leading to an idea, I promise. But what is your side of the, stepping away from the business and exploring life?
Yeah, no, they just leave me at home and they go on their adventures, unfortunately. It sucks, but someone has to do it. No, I love the outdoors and I love sport. I always have. I'm unfortunately a little bit injured due to the sport that I love, but I'll be back this year. But yeah, I love sport. I always have, and getting outdoors, and I get cabin fever if I'm indoors too long. So for me, the question is basically what's my vision in terms of that side of things. Yeah. There's still a whole lot of travel I want to do. I haven't really done a whole lot. I've been to New Zealand. I've explored a fair bit of Australia and America twice. But yeah, I still need to see the whole world. So I honestly don't really know where I see myself in the business and traveling if I can mix the two. Jason's thrown around the idea that he and Rose go and travel in America for 6 months and I stay in Australia, and then they come back for 6 months and I go to America or somewhere in the world and we just take turns. So that could be a point that we get to, and that would take a fair bit of teamwork and harmony to make that happen. But yeah, for me, it's really an open book. The focus is obviously on the business itself, and I know they'll have travel opportunities, but I'm not 100% sure what that looks like.
Okay, well, I had an idea.
Let's hear it.
You guys, so the big thing with email is like people are exhausted. They don't want to be sold stuff. They don't want to be, marketed. They want to connect with your brand, and you've already established that adventurers are your brand. And so you could have something, you have one email list for the Better For You, but you could have different avenues. So when Jason and Rose are doing their RVing, they could have like a blog on the Better For You and an email story style thing called the RV Files, where they share their RV adventures with the products they're using. And it's like the subtle thing is we're not only do we own the Better For You brand, but we are the brand. We embody and live this brand. And then you could have yours that's like the travel log, because I don't know if RVing is your specific passion, but you like traveling. And so you have your adventures and you're probably reaching the younger adventure crowd, and they're probably reaching the older adventure crowd, the family crowd, the people who are, they want to do adventures, but they also have either work or family or whatever. And so it's two different angles. It's two different generational angles. But it's also very personal. It's very obvious that you guys are a family that lives the actual brand, and it creates content around stuff you're already doing. So it's not like you have to go and like set up these adventures. It's not a canned experience. It's like literally like today I'm in wherever and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so that could be a cool thing, and it's organic too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would be a real chance, going back to Gary Vaynerchuk, it's such a good point. The document versus creating thing that he speaks about, that could definitely come into play. So yeah, I love that. And it's something we haven't given a lot of thought to, probably because Rose and Jason aren't in the RV yet. They're not doing the travel thing. But yeah, absolutely. I think it would be crazy to not document what they're doing and to not share that with people beyond just the Better For You brand.
Yeah, I love that. That's an excellent idea. And they're not doing the RVing yet, but they have done lots of travel and outdoorsy things throughout their life together, right? And so
Absolutely.
they could begin the process of creating emails around trips that they've done, like more recently, and then work their way back, and share those as photos to begin introducing the concept. These are the things we've done, these are the things we're doing. So, again, not waiting for the perfect setting, the perfect scenario, but back to your point, documenting as they go. And one of the other things I love about this is because again, like you guys, many outdoorsy people really don't want to take the time to, chat about doing. They just want to do. And they're reclusive. They're in nature. They're more in isolation. They're not on a marketing kind of platform. So therefore, there is an opening, where people who love that kind of lifestyle would like to see more of it and see more people doing more of it. Hearing about trips, they could talk about trips and places that they visited in ways that people might be wanting to go.
Yeah. And it's almost like becoming your own tourist information center, but the difference being that you're not the expert of the area, but you're the newbie exploring a new place. And so you have the perspective of, I'm a new person, I'm an adventurer, and these are the areas that I really want to explore. And that gives a whole new dimension to it, because it's now about, oh, they're exploring, and that's the itch I want to scratch too. And I think that could just be so cool.
Yeah, I'm just, your dad and I did this once before. It's like we were on a call and it's like, oh, let's look up that domain name. So I'm looking up the domain name.
Getting started on that.
Yeah, right. So
if anyone's out there and needs to buy 1,000 domains, then contact us.
Right. Well, we'll get a chance to buy them before this airs. So we're good at
that. Good idea. No, it's a really cool idea. And I think it would be a little bit of probably a moment of stepping outside of that introversion and just putting themselves out there, but it would really show that we live and breathe the brand, because they're going to do it regardless. So we can't document or we can't. And,
they're going to do it regardless. And one thing, so while, they might be more reclusive, what they are also is they're very generous, compassionate people, and they love to share. And so it's like, that's all it is. It's just sharing the things that they love. And because they love it, it makes it easy to share,
right?
And that automatically attracts and grows the tribe,
And it lessens the risk factor. You had mentioned risk earlier, and I think there's so many different ways to look at risk. And is it risky as an introvert to share parts of your life that sometimes are uncomfortable because you're like, I like just having my private life too. I don't want all of it to be this thing that's feeding a brand. Like, I like my quiet time, but at the same time, you're not like sharing everything you don't want to share. It's within the context of this is comfortable to share. And also it's sort of like, there's a risk in doing something, but there's a bigger risk in not doing something, because then you're always left with that empty and the anxiety of what if I had done that and it had been really cool, versus just like, okay, I put it out there and I got 10 likes and 15 email opens, but I put it out there and I don't have to worry about wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing about anxiety is, and I think probably introversion and that fear of putting yourself out there, or your work or your art, is that from what I know of it, the only real true way to cure it is to actually do it, which is super scary. But if you want to cure social anxiety, unfortunately, you have to put yourself out there and talk to people in social settings. Like, it sucks, but it's the reality of it. So and that's a really good point. So I will be bringing that back to Rose and Jason. I'll see what they have to say.
Yeah, and it's the reality of it. It ends up being so much more enriching than we ever imagined. So it's like, I think it's Tony Robbins that has a quote, is on the other side of your comfort zone lies your greatest opportunity for growth. So it's like, okay, that's not what we thought, but a lot of times, again, the journey often isn't exactly what we think it's going to be. But I think that for most people who end up making those connections, that's where the enrichment comes from. All the trips are fantastic and we love that communing with nature, but then, that's amplified more when we get to share it with others. And by the way, since this is airing after, like, we have this chance to have this conversation now. So I looked up the domain names rvfiles.com and thervfiles.com, and they're both available. So that's a potentially very good name for your folks after this call.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll get them on the phone.
Yeah, definitely.
No,
okay. A couple other ideas for you before we go. So have you guys done any writing of your blog? Are you guys working on writing articles regularly for your blog, your website, your Better For Your website?
No, we're not. But it's what we have done recently is connecting with a lady called, whose name is Kelsey Henry. Sorry, had a mental blank. Kelsey Henry, and she is a somewhat of a Pinterest expert. She works with Heath and Alyssa on their RV Entrepreneurs podcast. She's a gun with Pinterest, so she set up our Better For Your Pinterest account and got the conversation going about what we have to give people on our website, which at the moment isn't a whole lot beyond these are our products, this is a bit about us. But in terms of actual content that's sort of enriching or that they can take value from, there's not a whole lot. So what we'd love to do is to connect with our tribe and to see whether we can figure out some sort of relationship or arrangement or agreement where, as they are the ones on the road, they can send articles to us in exchange for whatever it might be, whether it's product or money or one of those things. But we do also have a lot of stories from ourselves as a business and a family to share with people. Rose and Jason rafted down the Grand Canyon for 13 days on the Colorado River, so that's one that comes to mind. So yeah, it's definitely an area that we need to get going. So
definitely. Yeah. So the advantage in you guys, if you guys decide if they like that idea, buying that domain name RV Files and the RVfiles.com, and get them both if they decide to go with something like that. The disadvantage is RV is in the name, which seems to kind of limit the travel files to RV. It doesn't have to, but it can. I think that the advantages of having such a cool short name that's relatable outweighs the potential limitations, because you can expand it through what you write. So Google isn't so much concerned. They will still send you traffic of other kinds of travel, even if RV is in your name, if you're writing about other things. So,
and it could always be the symbol. It doesn't necessarily have to be restricted to RV. It could always just be the symbol of the lifestyle. Yeah. Because people can have a quote RV lifestyle, but maybe their version is they just get in their car and go tent, stick a tent up somewhere, but it's still the vibe of pick up and go.
Yeah. And so what you guys like, if they like that, if you guys like that and decide to do something like that, you could also brainstorm a few other domain names. Like, for instance, thenaturefiles.com is also available. So thenaturefiles.com, you could have that one as well. And then that could expand and potentially be expansive. And then again, the cross-link and interlink with your Better For Your brand. It's like the Better For Your brand site kind of sponsors some of the travel, right?
Yeah, and you can even
have a sponsor.
Yeah, you can even have like a blog redirect. So on the Better For Your blog, it just could be a drop down. And do you want to read the RV blog? Do you want to read the nature blog? Do you want to read, the stories we have, from other people? And so it doesn't have to be like this whole new project and brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
And so then some of the articles that you might write, so like keywording is something that too few people do. We didn't used to do it. We didn't know anything about it. We did tons of writing and couldn't figure out why the traffic wasn't growing. And it's keywording. All that means is that you find out what people are actually searching, terms that they're actually searching, that you as a smaller site, new site, might be able to actually rank for because they're not so highly competitive. And typically the opportunities lie in the long tail. But if you're just starting out and there's a long tail keyword phrase that, gets a few hundred searches or even 50 searches a month, then suddenly you have the opportunity to be in front of 50 more people than you otherwise would have, right? Yeah. So here's an example, like the keyword RV living gets 8,000 searches a month. So for them to start,
it's easy to rank
and it's easy to rank for. So for them to write just to start writing articles, and again, it's like we're not talking about like the more conversational, the more chatty, the more newslettery style, the better, because people don't want stilted corporate language, and fancy copywritten content. It's just like the real deal.
And if writing isn't the thing, then audio or video and get it transcribed, and have a conversation and then have the transcription for the keywords, but then you have the format that you like creating in.
Yeah. So that keyword, and also lifestyle RV, gets 1,600 a month, and it's also easy to rank for lifestyle RV. So if you could write an article, on each of those things, they could write an article and on the new site that you start, or else on the one you have, wherever they decide to do it, then, you have a chance of starting to rank for that pretty early on in your adventure and endeavor. So and there are others that you can work on, but just to do, an article of each of those. And it's kind of have to look at when you're talking about outsourcing the things. So I wouldn't outsource the writing of emails. Yeah. I would let it become almost like a personal journal. Danielle Laporte is a good example of a marketer who has a website where she speaks directly to, let me see if Danielle Laporte, if I have that here. Yeah, so it's daniellelaporte.com. And about her tribe, she says, find your tribe, love them hard. That's her slogan. And there's another popular meme out there that your vibe attracts your tribe, and how to find your people. And we talked about that early on already. It's like putting out and being who you are, in the world. And the only adjustment that you guys have to make is sharing it a little more with the world than you otherwise thought you might do, but that has the opportunity to just really leapfrog your exposure in the world and your access to your tribe and them to you. And, and here's the thing, it's back to what you were talking about. Your passion is sharing the things that you guys love, and making things out of what you love and what you value. And so it may continue to be stainless steel, but it could branch into so many other areas, things that you can't even imagine at this point. Just like the slogan of, drink wherever life takes you was not something you could have conceived of until just a couple months ago.
And I absolutely love that. It's brilliant. I think it really it really captures a feeling that people are going to love. And to your point of sharing it, and it's really funny where as much as people talk about how social media is, this negative thing or whatever, what's really interesting is we're sort of coming to this point where content sharing is helping us discover that we can just be real and people like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And I think that's really cool, especially for some people who are introverted, because sometimes we can find it is that introversion awkward? Does it make us feel awkward? Does it make the people around us feel awkward? And then that just closes you off even more, because it's it's almost, there's the introversion of I like being alone, but then I think there's also some people who are introverted on default because they feel socially awkward. But because of media and because of social media especially, and blogs and newsletters and this natural connection of just being who you are, people are realizing, oh, maybe I'm not introverted, maybe I'm just socially awkward, and I can kind of get over that because there's a lot of other people who are socially awkward but still living their life and having an enriching life. And I think that's important too.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, definitely. I think and something that we forget is that on the other side of everybody's social media account is a human being. So, Devani, the way that you express yourself on social media, I really love, because it's quite rare actually saying what you feel and saying what you're going through and expressing your opinions, whether you think people will agree with them or not is really cool. So, it's a good ode to authenticity, I think, and just putting yourself out there and if you've got a friends list on Facebook or Instagram, then chances are they're going to get behind you and they're going to support what you're doing. And if they don't, then you can always block them if you like.
Yeah, right. And if they don't, exactly, then they're not your tribe. It's
exactly.
It's okay too. I think sometimes we're scared to admit that somebody doesn't like what we're doing because, but sometimes it's not that they don't like what we're doing. Sometimes they're totally for it. It's just not their interest.
Exactly.
You could have friends who are into totally different creative mediums and they support each other from afar. They're just in two different worlds.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we overanalyze how people like or dislike what we do. And really it could just be, they support you from afar and that's enough for them. And that's sometimes we just have to be okay with that.
You have to be okay with it. And, and I think you guys have to, I imagine that part of your enculturation has to do with the tall poppy syndrome, right? In Australia.
Yes.
So it's like, it's like you're not rewarded for standing out from the crowd. You want to stay in the crowd and basically not be seen. You don't want to be the tall poppy that get chopped off from, what I understand, as the saying goes, that's pretty prominent in the Australian culture, right?
Yes, yeah, it is. It's a culture where, like, I guess the word mateship comes to mind, and where you everybody helps each other out, and we're on a similar level. And as soon as someone does stick their head out and profess to be an expert at something, then we're all pretty quick to cut them down and say, like, where's your humility, I guess. So, yeah, it's an interesting part of our culture, but it's definitely a part of it.
Yeah, definitely important. So, so you can just kind of reframe that as, my humility is in, being able to share with people, it's just connecting. Connecting is hard. That's my humility. It's like, that's not what I really love to do or want to do, but I'm loving doing it because connecting with people ends up being awesome. But just two other thoughts before we let you go. Kept you long already, but I know that your folks are very much along, and I presume you as well, very much along the lines of take responsibility kind of people, like take personal responsibility, don't blame, it's like, and so the phrase, drink where life takes you, an alternate to that you might also want to try out is drink where you take life. So it's like the concept of, are we floating on the wind and life is taking us, or are we choosing where we're going? So it's just another variation on that. I think that the one that you guys came up with is more relatable to most people. For me personally, it's like, I want to take the reins and direct my fate and my destiny more by the choices I make, kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. No, it's a really good point. And it's something I considered as well, not quite in so much detail, but it was, if you say drink where life takes you, is that giving the control over to life, and you're like a ping pong ball getting hit around and you're sort of subject to life's terms. But at the same time, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where if you were to know every single point of your destination from here until the final point, then would it be as exciting? So it's perhaps a matter of perspective, like drink where life takes you. So start out on an adventure, and you guys have been on plenty of adventures, I'm sure, where the best things that happen are often the things you don't expect. And it could be a flat tire and you meet a great person, or it could be you see an amazing sight that you'd never planned initially. So yeah, it's one that we should consider. And maybe we could use both. Maybe we can say drink where life takes you, or drink where you take life. And that's a fantastic point. It's like, wherever it takes you, make the most of it is what your phrase is. And I absolutely love that. So yeah, you could, see if you wanted to use both. If not, then what you have is fantastic. So, well, is there anything else we can talk about before we let you go? You good with ideas for now? I'm absolutely stocked with ideas. No, I've really enjoyed this. I've loved it. Yeah. It's a reminder to touch base with you guys more, and I've been a little bit quiet, but yeah, no, I'm loving what you guys are doing, especially with the podcasts and the new projects you got going. And I think, just really quickly, I think an example of just starting and just doing, I'm sure you've touched on it, Devani, is this I Create Daily itself, where in terms of timing, it probably wasn't the best thing that you could have done, because you had so much else going on, but you went and started it, and here we are. So that's a lesson in itself to everybody listening, I'd say.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Yeah.
This has been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Great to connect with you.
Thanks, guys. Absolutely. Looking forward to chatting again soon.
Okay, yeah, let's keep in touch, Sam. Tell your folks hello and hug them for us.
Yes.
Will do. Say hi to the family for me.
Okay, with you. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you guys. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us for the I Create Daily podcast. Please let us know what creatives you would like us to interview and what topics you would be interested in hearing more about.
And if you enjoyed this show, please leave a review on iTunes. We value your feedback. We read all the reviews, and it just helps us get the word out on the I Create Daily podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.